All right, so I'll just give another little introduction here. This is the Padma Sambhava text, treasures from Juniper Ridge, and lately we've been talking about how Dzogchen can be practiced by anybody who's got the devotion and the circumstances to meet with the teachings. For some reason, there's a little bit of this idea that Dzogchen is only for the highly intelligent, because sometimes the teachings have been instructed that way that says, this is for the highest of the high, this is for the medium of the medium, and this is for the lowest of the low of intelligent. But to me, it's sort of this almost like street smarts, your heart smarts, your intuition combined with, of course, if you're sharp, then you can catch on to all these concepts pretty good. But this book really shows you that Dzogchen has a wide spectrum of availability, and it's available to all kinds of different people. So if you know somebody or you yourself gets caught up in these narratives that says, "Oh, Dzogchen is the highest practice. I'm not ready for it," or I need some causal practices, some causal antidotes to mix in with Dzogchen." Um, well, this text should definitely prove without a doubt that you are worthy of the teachings, the highest Ati Yoga teachings. So if you've connected with them to any degree, explore that connection. Uh, if it's totally foreign to you, if it's tough for you to be a part of Dzogchen, then of course let it go for something that flows better. But for many of you, you have a undeniable connection with Dzogchen and the authentic Paleo lineage and other lineages as well, other teachers. So those like Longchenpa would say, definitely pursue that connection. Today, our friend Dondrub is going to read to us, starting on page 2. Thank you so much, Dondrub, and I hope you all enjoy the text.
Advice on how to practice the profound instructions. The master gave the king this advice: Your Majesty, practice the meaning of these instructions. There is no ease within samsara's realms. Ease is found in the awakened state. Through effort, this awakened state is never gained. It is not achieved with effort, but by letting be and never striving. By rejection, samsara is not left behind. It is freed within itself by letting be. Your attempts to cure your miseries have brought no ease. You are at ease by loosely letting be. You find no happiness from craving, only when you have let go of craving. Attachment is not cut by trying to avoid it, only by revulsion is it truly stopped. Instructions are not found by wanting. You can gain them when you find a master. You never receive blessings just from asking. They come when you have gained devotion. King, you will find happiness when the Dharma is your regular companion. Give up distracting occupations and embrace the nature of the view and meditation. remain in Dharmakaya's equal state that is beyond arising. The king was delighted, and he saluted and circumambulated the master with deep faith and respect.
This really backs up a point that I've made for a while in this group. Is that if Dzogchen was being taught to kings who have this entire life going on, well, surely it should be accessible to you guys, right? And applicable. You're able to actually apply it. That is a very short, pithy piece right there. Pretty cool. And the famous line that I've repeated many times here: you've tried many things to resolve your suffering, and nothing has worked.
Self liberated wakefulness, direct instructions in Mahamudra, homage to the lotus born of Udiyana. Here are the oral instructions in Mahamudra. The master of Udiyana said, "Listen, Sogyal. When teaching the direct instructions of Mahamudra, there are 4 points: the Mahamudra of the view, the Mahamudra of the meditation, the Mahamudra of the fruition, and the Mahamudra of the training. First, for the Mahamudra of the view, a Tantra says, the Mahamudra of the view is the basic nature of the mind, with nothing to prove or dispel. In this way, Mahamudra has no support, no reference point, is by nature unborn, and does not perish through circumstances. Its play is unconfined and is the natural state, the basic nature of all that can be known. Moreover, its virtues need not be produced, nor are their flaws to be eliminated. Like the analogy of believing a rope to be a snake, it is the notion of the snake that is mistaken, and not the rope. Though upon first glance it appeared to be a snake, you realize that it was just a rope. Neither does the rope need to be proved, nor the snake need to be dispelled, not even in the slightest. In the same way, the basic nature of all things that can be known is itself the nature of Mahamudra. So neither is there a need to produce thought free wakefulness, nor does thinking need to be eliminated. Thought free wakefulness is directly present while thinking, and so belonging to no category such as permanence or nothingness, the two types of identity, or to the perceiver or the perceived. It is known as original and perfect purity. Second, about the Mahamudra of the meditation, a Tantra says, let your basic nature settle without clinging. That is the Mahamudra of the meditation state. In this way, the Mahamudra of the meditation is to allow your original nature to let be without holding anything whatsoever in mind. So, it is not the result of thought, not indicated, not something that is or is not. It is without conflict, and mental doing, and does not exclude anything whatsoever. Moreover, by letting be in naturalness, there is no need to modify with a remedy, just like the ocean and the waves. When a wave moves on the great ocean, it rises from and subsides back into the ocean. The wave is no other than the ocean, and the ocean is no other than the wave. Like the wave in the ocean remain serenely as equal taste. Like this analogy, within the Mahamudra of your mind essence, the original nature, free of thought, let be completely in naturalness. Do not hold anything in mind. Whatever thought may arise is, at the very moment of arising, not separate from thought free and unmistaken wakefulness. Thought arises from you, appears to you, and dissolves into you. At that moment, the natural state is not a thing you can think of, nor is it possible to indicate it through words. Being devoid of the duality of perceiver and perceived, it is not something that is. Since this non dual wakefulness experiences in every possible way, it is not something that is not. And since these two levels of reality are indivisible, it is without conflict. Since all mistaken phenomena are stamped with its seal, it is not excluding anything. And thus, being originally free, it is known as the original state of self liberation. Third, for the Mahamudra of the fruition, a Tantra says the ground itself matured into the fruit. That is the Mahamudra of the fruition. In this way, the Mahamudra of the fruition is when the basic nature, the natural state of all knowable things, has matured into realization. In other words, its essence, Dharmakaya, is concurrent with emptiness. Its nature, Sambhogakaya, is endowed with the skillful means of lucid wakefulness, and its capacity, Nirmanakaya, is its unconfined natural expression. To use an analogy, when a seed has matured into an ear of grain, it is only the seed that developed into the ear of grain. There is no ear of grain apart from the seed. And besides the ear of grain, there is nothing into which the seed can ripen. Just like that analogy, Fruition is your original mind, the naturally pure basic state, after its myriad types of temporary modulations have subsided into itself. It is simply the natural state as it is. It is your mind's empty essence, an unconfined state of wakefulness that is the Dharmakaya. It is your mind's lucid nature, experience impossible for words to describe, that is Sambhogakaya. It is your mind's expressive capacity, the self liberation of every moment of experience, that is Nirmanakaya. Fourth, for the Mahamudra of the training, a Tantra says, in order to bring forth sequential blessings, there is the Mahamudra of the training. You must request the oral instructions from a master who possesses transmission, realization, and compassion. From that day onwards, you must supplicate him, regarding him not as a form body, Rupakaya, but only as Dharmakaya, unable to bear any separation. Dissolve into him with deep yearning, so that through the Master's blessings, the realization of Mahamudra arises spontaneously. This, the singularly sufficient shortcut with no need to depend upon any other method among the two stages, is known as the Mahamudra of the training. To use an analogy, when the sun is bright and you have an undamaged, untainted lens, dry moss will catch fire the very moment you correctly arrange the tree. Similarly, when the Master's blessings, your own devotion, and the pure sincerity of your being all coincide, the original wakefulness that is Mahamudra automatically arises by simply making a supplication with deep felt yearning. Now, for the method to ensure that your being is purified. After receiving the oral instructions, initially go to a secluded place and remain there in solitude. Then, casting away all other aims, completely surrendering, repeatedly form this state frame of mind. What a terrible waste it would be if I were to squander away this body of freedoms and riches obtained just this once. As nothing is certain, what would I do if I were to die tonight or right now? My mind has not attained any stability. And after I die, nothing and no one will accompany me. Then take refuge and form the bodhicitta resolve many times. Use various methods to purify your obscurations and to gather the accumulations.
Okay, 1 second. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Okay, so that is pretty standard in Dharma. You start with refuge and bodhicitta. So for those of you who do the mantras, you can do this Dunji Namkar Kuntu Zampola one. For me, that's a great Dzogchen refuge and bodhicitta. And so definitely your refuge mantras should be corresponding to your spiritual context, which is Ati Yoga. So I want you to really have that correct. Which refuge and bodhicitta mantras you're doing because it complements everything in a profound way. So the other one that we have is we have the Dunji Namkor Kunto Zampola and then Namo Konchok Sumdan Sawasam refuge ones. You have most likely heard those before. So you're welcome to use those, especially for this retreat that we're going to be doing, um, which is essentially modeled after one of my days. So it shouldn't be too hard. But right when you wake up, this is traditional of many monastics and yogis. You go into a meditation immediately, right there in the bed. So some folks they prefer to do refuge and bodhicitta via mantras. Other people rest in awareness. But just to sort of take a moment as soon as you wake up, as long as you're not getting smothered by five dogs, you should be able to sit and sort of take your refuge for the day. That to me is one of the most profound little practices that you can incorporate. Even if you end up making a proprietary refuge for yourself, like I take refuge in this or that, you sort of have something on you in your own style. I think it's okay as long as it doesn't stray too much. But then, what else is mentioned here that I wanted to just clarify is purification and accumulation of merit. Uh, Generally, in here, the scriptures will tell us that practicing the awareness practice is the highest merit you could possibly offer. You're essentially getting rid of karma. So it's almost like you have a clear cloud of merit that you dedicate to beings at the end of these sessions. And if you start to get into it, certainly if you're a Vajrayana practitioner, you're into dedicating merit. But here we're sort of dedicating our realization. And the scriptures will tell you that that's very, very powerful. Very powerful. So dedicating merit is one thing. Um, Dedicating your realization is another. It operates in a whole different way. There's the blessings there. So then also here mentioned is purification. This is another thing we're going to integrate into the retreat. So I'll ask you guys, what is the highest form of purification according to Buddha Dharma? Yeah, the view itself, exactly. So that's inner tantra, that's Ati Yoga, the ninth yana. But you have all these previous yanas, and in those yanas, you purify using uh, other methods. The only method of purification that I would agree with in Dzogchen is Vajrasattva. The mantras can be incredibly powerful. 21 taras, things like that too, but purely on the subject of purely on the subject of purification. I would recommend Vajrasattva. Okay, so here those three things are being mentioned before they go into sort of Dzogchen proper, and I wanted to explain them. So, any questions on refuge, bodhicitta, purification, or accumulation of merit? You guys got that? It's very foundational uh, in the Dharma. So, we have refuge, we have accumulation of merit, and we have purification. How does it all end? Every sadhana, every session always ends how? Dedication. Very good. And so that dedication can fall into accumulation of merit. But we do a special dedication here, a Dzogchen dedication. So, um, yeah, you can also lean in the other direction with that. So rather than leaning into outer Tantra, you can lean into inner Tantra with your dedications. And this, to me, starts to embrace the truth, absolute truth, rather than just half one foot into your outer Tantra, one foot into Dzogchen, inner Tantra. To me, that's not so useful, okay? All right. So please, let me see. Dundrup saying, oh, cool, that there's a whole logic that you had in mind behind the mantras and stuff we do in this group. Oh, yeah. There's, the way I've kept it in this group is very almost well, not even almost, it's dogmatic. I stay pretty strict to the rituals, to the traditions, and this goes down to the smallest things that many people don't even notice. Even just opening your altar from left to right and then closing it from right to left, things like that. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute, Yeshi. Oh no, he's back with the dad joke. That's awesome. That's right. I'm dogmatic because I'm the dog yogi. That's great. Way to throw me off. All it takes is a good dad joke, and I'm freaking like a squirrel. So that's pretty good. But I saw a lot of people throughout my life inventing their own thing, and particularly in the West, people really innovate when it comes down to spirituality and dharma. And so I vowed, I always got a little bit turned away from the innovators, because they're creating a proprietary framework that once they die, essentially, it's gone, you know, or the proprietary framework, like even in Mind Illuminated by Kuladasa, um, the nomenclature there, the classifications, the semantics being used were too proprietary. They were standing on their own island. That's why I know some translations kind of we don't agree with in the Dharma, but we use them because there's common ground. And Buddha Shakyamuni even taught about this. It's not about the outer words as much as the underlying meaning. And I think in degenerate times we've really gotten overly pedantic about the superficial use of the words, which is important, of course, but it doesn't matter nearly as much as the underlying meaning, right? So this to me, we still have some words that we use in the Dharma that aren't the best translations, but we use them because everybody knows what we're talking about. You can crack open a Mind Illuminated book or something like that with proprietary language, and you won't even know what he's talking about because he's using a word that's foreign to you, that's never been used in that context. So, in the same way, I don't agree with people online and academics who just decide to rewrite everything and insist that we all follow their proprietary understanding. It's completely unrealistic and it adds to a lot of confusion. Um, for example, people will now tell you that awareness is not Rigpa, and that's completely an issue of semantics. You don't know if awareness is Rigpa. You'd have to see the practitioner and really explore that to validate that beyond the conceptual framework. But really, just for a manner of speaking and a manner of all of us waking up in this true sort of revolution of the mind, uh, then we can say awareness is Rigpa. We can just use that word awareness. That word to me has never been my favorite word, but I use it because it's accessible. And through that word, other people have been able to access Dzogchen. So I'm going to continue to use it. But you will find people out there that don't like that word, that will tell you, no, awareness is not your Buddha nature, purely based on the external nomenclature. So to me, that can be just a degenerate thing that we do. It taints the Dharma, confuses people. But if you can manage to be confident enough, then it won't matter. If you're confident in your realization, it won't matter at that point if somebody insists on this or that. So, kind of important little things to mention here for you guys. Any comments, questions, anything? I believe we have 21 of these topics that Dondrup's reading through right now, so don't worry, we're not going to get through them all today. Mm, So if you need to say something, be free. What is the root guru? Uh, that's interesting. Both of you, huh? Asked the same question at the same time. Huh. Well, the root guru, there are many scriptures that talk about how to define the root guru and get to know a lama so that they become your root guru. Um, I'm under the impression that it can take a long time to get to, relatively speaking, it could take a long time to get to know somebody. Okay? To me, your root guru is a teacher that you get to know just like a friend. You trust them, and they introduce you to the nature of mind. They themselves have strong compassion and realization, and so they essentially just pour it all into you without you needing to necessarily go through a lot of the stuff. So you sort of, that's what they call the blessings. It's this liberation that happens without us really knowing about it, right? Yeah, those are all root gurus. There are many unknown root gurus too, the but don't confuse the general teachings. Like every avatar gives general teachings: don't lie, don't steal, don't kill, all that stuff. Those are just moral guidelines that every religion has. That's why I don't understand when people try to make Buddhism unique based on the ethical part. Every religion has that. Buddhism is unique because of the enlightenment part. you know, uh, if you still need somebody to give you a list of moral guidelines, then you're probably not ready for Dzogchen. You should feel in your heart. You should know why not to hurt people purposefully, knowingly, and lie, and all this stuff. You should know that. You don't need somebody to tell you for you to hold a rule. To me, I feel like we're more mature than that. Maybe with lying, because a lot of people like to do the white lies and things like that. So in that case, I would say take a vow not to do white lies.